2013. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of last month.
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Got a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion's carried. And first on the agenda tonight will be the polls. Good evening. Go right in.
For the month of November, we had 559 animals enter into the shelter. 26.7% of those came from county jurisdictions, 14% came from the city of Laverne, 38.8% came from the city of Murfreesboro, and 20.5% came from the town of Smyrna. We had 125 animals that were adopted out, 290 animals were euthanized, and 103 animals were reclaimed. That gives us the breakdown on our adoption and reclaim is 40.9%, and our euthanasia rate, was 52.1%. I told you last month about the live release rate. That includes animals that were returned to their owners, animals that were wildlife that could be released back out, and also our adoptions. That gave us a live release rate of 46.5%. And 61 of the animals that were reclaimed were from our surgery programs. At the end of the month, we had 119 animals that remained in the shelter. We had 1,726 people that came to the shelter looking for a lost or a new pet, and 1,812 calls and voicemails reported for the month. We had 1,269 calls that were received, 1,317 calls that were completed out. You can see the breakdown of the jurisdictions there of that. And then we traveled 10,393 miles for the month. Year to date, we've taken in 3,887 animals. It's actually tracking a little bit higher this year than last. I hope that will slow off with the winter and we'll get those numbers back down. You can see we've had 759 adoptions during that time, 533 reclaims. So overall fiscal year to date, we've had a 33.1% adoption reclaim percentage and a 56.5% euthanasia rate. Our fiscal year to date is 42.9% live release. We've had 8,216 people that have visited the shelter since July the 1st and 10,648 calls and voicemails. 7,569 calls received, 7,632 that were completed out, and we've traveled 57,682 miles for the year. On the rabies exposure and bite report, we had 23 bites that were reported for the month of November. None of those were tested, of course, none returned positive. For the month, we had 42 other exposures. 3 of those animals were tested, 1 of those was positive. The positive case was in the Rockville zone. It was a skunk. That accounts for all 38 of the other exposures in the Rockville zone. There was a skunk that was around farm animals. It was exposed to 38 different animals. There was a report for each individual animal that did test positive. Those animals are under a 6-month home quarantine.
Any questions?
Motion to approve the report.
Got a motion?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All right. Let's see. You got a budget amendment, right?
Yes, sir, I do. What we're asking to do is to transfer $5,000 within our budget from drugs and medical supplies to in-service training. We're going to be hosting a training in March. We have lined up for a representative from the Animal Legal Defense Fund and from the National District Attorneys Association that's going to come in and do some training for up to 200 folks. That's going to be for our folks, and we're going to try to gear that towards the district attorneys, the judges, lawyers, law enforcement, our county first, and then expand it out to Middle Tennessee. What we're looking at doing is being able to forge a better relationship with the district attorney's office to help us prosecute our cases so that we bring them cases that they feel they can move forward with. We run into some difficulty with that now. It's gotten to where some of the officers are going, why are we even putting the time into these cases just to go to court and have them thrown out? So we want to try to forge a better relationship there. This money, when the registration fees come in, we're going to try to keep the costs as minimal as possible. I have sought out a couple of grants to cover it. But at whatever we charge the folks to come, that money would be put back in our drugs and medical supplies upon receipt.
All right.
Move to approve.
Got a motion? Do you have a second?
Second.
And a second. Discussion.
You, you feel that you'll break even on this?
Based on what the food, the room, and the travel expenses, we're looking somewhere in the $4,500 range. If we have 200 folks come, that's about $15 to $20 per person. If, you know, nobody shows up and it's just my folks, I'm gonna be looking at about $1,700 for me to be able to trade 20 to 25 of my folks, which is still a deal. We did an employee survey within the last couple of months, and by far, when we asked what type of training do you need, it was legal training, how to prepare cases, those type things. So if nobody shows up, it's still gonna be good training for our department.
Mayor, Ray?
I just want to say, even Mr. Schaefer, if we don't recover all our monies here, it would be worth it.
Okay.
It's not uncommon every month to see 3 or 4 legal bills that come through where we have to support these kinds of things, and if we're going to make those kinds of expenditures, we need to find a way to make this work within the system a little bit better.
So your judges slash district attorneys will come for some of them for sure, so that's gonna be your speakers, et cetera, right?
Well, what we chose was the National District Attorneys Association, because the lady that's there was a district attorney for, I believe, 20-something years. The lady with the Animal Legal Defense Fund, the same. But they also, the lady with the National District Attorneys Association runs their animal cruelty program. So it's gearing not just towards us, but it also gears towards them. Our intent is that they're gonna see that as, hey, this is a former district attorney, it's one of us, versus me bringing in an animal speaker only.
Okay.
So, we've not had commitments from the district attorney's office, just from the simple fact that we haven't sought it yet. I got the finalized topics this afternoon. I'm gonna be meeting tomorrow, so we can come up with a brochure to get out and start making those contacts. The reason that I'm seeking the grants and whatnot is to try to keep the costs low. If my grants come through, we'll be able to do it and not charge any of the participants anything. There'd be no excuse for them not to come. The District Attorneys Association is also seeking out to see if they can get continuing legal education credits for those to come. So they're gonna be meeting their education requirements for minimal cost.
Thank you.
Robert, you have a question?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the training. In fact, I think that's a good thing. The question I've got though is why is it coming out of drugs and medical supply unless you must be fat there, because you just got through saying, hey, you're having a lot more animals in the shelter than you did last year. So you're gonna have enough money basically to go through the year.
What has helped us on that drug and medical supply line is that normally runs in the $75,000 range. The money went in for the grant that was left over from last year, which was $45,000, which bolstered that account. We're actually doing our surgeries a little bit cheaper than we anticipated, so that's made additional money in that line item. And the other thing, I'll praise Dr. Dill. She does a great job of just the bare necessities. We're not tracking like we had been previously with our previous vet on our medical supplies. She uses different supplies that are cheaper. And then we bid out the drugs and medical supplies this year as well, which has saved additional money there.
Well, remind us to send her a Christmas card. Tell her thank you.
Yes, sir. She's doing a great job.
Anybody else? Entertain a motion?
I've already got it.
Got one? All right. There's no other questions. Call the roll.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Phillips.
Aye.
Commissioner Tiffany Phillips.
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens.
Yes.
Commissioner Farley.
Yes. Is that?
I do have one more thing. I've spoken with a couple of you about it, and I've spoken with the mayor. I've been working with OIT. We're having some major issues with our phone system. We have barred handsets within the department to try to make do. I've got folks that do not have a phone at their desk, supervisors that are having to go to different rooms to return phone calls. We're having messages that are being cut off in the middle of the message. We don't even have caller ID to be able to call folks back. OIT brought out a consultant last week. We anticipated having some figures either Friday, or they thought they were going to have some preliminary numbers today for me to be able to present to you all. That did not come through. I want to make you aware of it, but we've got to do something, and we kind of need to move fairly quickly on that. Originally, when we first started this process, OIT thought they could come up with the bulk of the money, and then I'd be looking at a budget transfer within my budget to come up with the rest. But I have zero figures for you all at this point.
If it's okay with the committee, I know we've got 2 representatives from budget on here. Instead of him having to come back to the Public Safety Committee, we'll see it in the full commission and just let him go ahead. Once he gets his figures, go on ahead to budget. If that's okay with the committee, we'll go ahead and do it that way.
When's that meet, Robert?
The 9th, the next month. Budget.
And once I get numbers, I'd be happy to call each of you individually and discuss those with you as well, if that makes you all feel more comfortable.
Just send an email.
All right.
Do that?
That way it'll save you 30 days, having to come around,
Yes, sir.
had to wait, and then it is for customer service, we need to get
Correct.
that situation taken care of.
Yes, sir. Okay.
All right?
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is the ambulance service report. Called in the army now, didn't he?
Oh, yeah. It takes two of us to make one mic, not one. All right, this is the November report. 2,058 calls. Calls for assistance is what we had. Average response time was about 8 minutes. You can see the rest of the numbers here. The total billed was $1,209,689. I would like to point out in fiscal year 11-12, that was a typo in there, and it's actually $1,143,895. And also, under the 90% in fiscal year 12-13, it's 75% and not 90%. Okay, and all the rest of the numbers seem to be tracking. We normally track anywhere from 62 to 63% on collections. And of course, you know, that has a lot to do with how much we billed out even the prior month to that. The rest of it is just our regular numbers as far as the ambulances are concerned, our mileage, breakdowns that we had, and then the total number out of zone calls, and that finishes out that page. We okay? All right. Next is our in-service training. In-service training, we have several things that we had done in the month of November, even with Thanksgiving. We did do some medical coverages for some special events, all the football games, you know, those types of things. And of course, we had some SORT special operations events to go to also. Okay, that rounds out that page. The next is our breakdown of our response time per station. And those are about normal, especially for this time of year. We have an 8-minute response time total with about a 13.5 on scene and a 9.1 back into the hospital. Only about 10 to 15% of our calls do we run emergency back into the hospital. This is our breakdown in the public safety report for the commissioner districts, how many we answered in your zones. And this is for the month of November. And also how many the transport team made and how many times that we went to Nashville total too. The next page is the year-to-date for the district calls, same with Nashville and same with transport.
Is that transport numbers for the hospital out here, is that a little high this month?
It is, but we've had several things going on, and it is a little bit on the high side for the transport team, but that fluctuates from time to time.
It just seemed a little bit high this year, or this
We've had
month.
a lot of pretty rough MVAs also. Okay, and then probably the best, the best of out of zone where the ambulances are going and how many times an ambulance makes a call and how many is out of zone is the next page, and that's that little rubrics there, little matrix on where our ambulances are going and staying in zones.
Manchester's still coming quite a bit roadside, aren't they?
Absolutely. Eagleville's picked up, actually. Zone 10 there, 26 calls. They made 6 calls into Zone 1, but they made 26 calls out in Eagleville. The next few pages are of thank you letters and those types of things. Some reports that we have. We have some pictures in those. And then the second to the last page is a page that you guys, or the third actually, is a page that you guys had asked for. It's the November vacation denials, and they are in there. Of course, it's the holiday season, so we have a lot of people requesting only one day off, and of course, we have a lot of people on vacation. And the next one will tell you that we have a lot of people on FMLA, and so that's our estimated cost in vacation hours for FMLA. In the last, that's it.
Any questions on his report? If there's not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve the report.
Got a motion to approve, is there a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Thank you, you too. All right, fire and rescue. How's it going?
First two pages is the total run call volume year-to-date from January 1st to the last public safety meeting. We've had a total of 809 calls so far this year. And the next sheet, 3 or 4 sheets, is a breakdown of each and every call we've had so far this month since the last public safety meeting, which was in the range of 11:15. Had 58 calls. Had a interesting call this afternoon about 1:22. We were paged out to I-24 at the 92-mile marker. There was a semi pulling a trailer full of chicken waste. Ran off into the median, ran off in between 2 bridges into the river. And we had a lot of oil and diesel that was in that, and it's traveling under the bridge into the river. But my firefighters and SORT were there, and they done a good job containing it, putting out booms and containing the oil, keep it from floating down the river until we got a vacuum truck there to start vacuuming it up. And EMA was also on the scene, but everybody worked good together, and we kept it contained. The next report, yeah.
Just a question, these that you've had, I was just looking through and I saw a couple of them that were just rubbish fires. You know, they were burning leaves.
Is it labeled rubbish?
Well, the very first one was, and then one on 1125 in Christiana. You know, I got that far before, but my question on it, if they had to call the fire department when they're burning on their property, you check to see if they got a permit?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's the first thing we did. Well, and this time of year you have to have a permit,
Yeah.
and then a lot of times we get dispatch. SO will say, "Be advised, no permits on file." So we know
Okay.
we get out there that, and a lot of times they're burning illegally. They're burning tires, plastic, carbohydrates, stuff like that. So if we go out there, and of course, regardless, we put the fire out. Now, if we're called out there during the time of year where there's not a permit required, as long as they're burning safely and it's not posing a hazard, we let it burn. But if it's any kind of illegal material or it's posing a hazard, we put it out.
But if they do have a permit, they still have to respond, because it could be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But-
Well, a lot of times people start burning and wind to get up and they get out of hand, and they call for help.
Well, what people don't realize is everybody that drives by has got a cell phone now, and they
Oh,
all
yeah.
know what smoke is. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have people call and say, I can see fire about a mile from my house.
Well, that's one reason we can go ahead and mention that here is if you get a burn permit, go ahead and call the sheriff's department and let them know so they can put that on file. That way we'll know when we get called and say, hey, there is a permit here, even though we're coming. We at least know that it was an intentional.
Well, when
burn.
people call us, we tell them to get a permit, how to obtain one, and then to call the non-emergency number at the sheriff's office and notify dispatch. That way they kind of give us a heads up.
Well, who gives them a
Citation?
ticket then? Yeah, citation.
We file a report and send that into TDAC, the Air Quality Control people in Nashville. As of right now, we have no ability to issue tickets
And why is that?
because we don't have we haven't adopted the fire code,
Okay.
and we don't have a fire marshal.
Marshall. So that was my next question, who it was in the county.
And that's one of if you adopt the fire code, then that gives you the opportunity to enforce that a little bit stringent.
Where are we at on that? We had discussed it last year at some point in time. I didn't know.
Nothing's been moved on it. If it's fire marshal, is that what you're saying?
Adopting the fire code.
I think the codes people are looking at it right now.
Okay.
It's embedded along with a dozen more codes that we're going to work through the system and getting those approved and adopted.
And the good thing about that, when we adopt the fire code, like the drought, we'll be able to stop, say no fireworks we'll have the authority, like the city did, no fireworks, no open burning. That'll give us the authority to do that without having to go through jump through all the hoops like we did last time. Any more questions on those? The next report is the motor vehicle accident report. Since the last meeting, I think there was a total of 39 total MVA calls. Average response time was 9 minutes. And best I could tell from the reports, we did have one scene that was a fatality and had 2 entrapments. A lot of times as I go through the SO reports, sometimes I can tell and sometimes I can't. Of course, we're covering 4 different districts right here. The next report is the total call volume for all departments, training hours. I didn't get a report from Alville, District 15, or Fossil Midland this month, so I don't know what their total runs would be. But for the year, right now, with what I've got, is there's right at close to 2,000 calls so far this year, countywide. 1989. The next sheet is the residents, and we've had damage as far as fire. We turn into the codes department where they will know that they will need a permit to refurbish or remodel. And then the Fossville Midland Station, checked out there Friday with them, and today too. They've got all the water lines laid for the sprinkler system. They've already run across the road, and we did get that paid pretty quickly because I had people calling complaining. Worked with the road superintendent, and he was gracious enough to go out there and pave it for us real quick and kind of clean that up. They were putting in the riser today inside the structure, so hopefully they told us they should be through with that all by the end of this week. So hopefully we can get those guys in there and they want to anxious start staffing it a little bit and spend the night. Station 3, Elam Road Station, is complete with the exception of the inside of the station being painted. The inmates at the sheriff's office will come out and paint the outside of it, did a great job. And then they're trying to finish up on the inside. And the guys out there are really, really tickled and pleased with the outcome of how that building looks now. They've got a shower facility and restroom and a kitchenette. So it's really come together out there, and really tickled at how well it did turn out. So they're kind of, matter of fact, they've been staffing it pretty heavy here lately, so that's a good thing. And that concludes my report.
Any questions on the report?
Motion to approve the report.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
You too. Next is the Emergency Management Agency. How you doing tonight?
Hey, all right, sir. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Just a fast report tonight because we didn't have any call-outs during the past month that we had to respond to on site, so you'll not see any of those in there this time. Just want to give you an update on our communications tower project. The FireNet 3 repeater is operational at Milton site, and the UHF repeater is operational for coverage testing. He just left, but I understand the fire chief's really happy that we got that repeater there at the Milton site. It's near where I believe where he can talk from home. And we also installed new tower lighting at the Hudson site, which is the site we just acquired, and the fiber connections, the E911 Center, Motorola Console, and Fortress has been tested and working. Some of us didn't make the report today. We also got some boxes in, some equipment, I should say. I don't know exactly what it is yet from Motorola to finish the project, so some of that's starting to come in. By the way, a lot of the equipment, the dishes and things, we're storing it over at E911 for now because we had nowhere else to put it. A lot of stuff there. Just so y'all know, the Budget Committee did approve the Tier 4 package for the digital NAWAS. And Commissioner P., you had a question about who had it. I was wrong. Since I last talked to TEMA, they have the digital NAWAS in their system, and so is THP. So the state level nodes are going in now.
Where are they located?
They're on Sigco Road, where the National Guard headquarters is on the backside. If you'd like to go up there sometime, I can arrange it and take a look at it.
You may do that.
Okay. State of Florida has it fully up and has had it for a little while, and they're very happy with it based on the reports that I've been given.
Well, that also went through the commission last week, as well as the budget committee.
Yes, sir.
Oh, no.
Sorry.
That's more important to you. than
Yes,
the
sir.
budget committee.
I get ahead of myself sometimes, I apologize. Yes, sir.
Yeah, it passed, the Thursday night.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry. Upcoming events we have, the Region 39 meeting is December 18th. That's where they discuss the 700, 800 spectrum. Joe Gurley will be leading that up. We have a hazmat awareness class on December 19th on the EOC. And we also have a hazmat operations course January 6th through 10th in Laverne. Other than that, things have been pretty quiet up until today with the incident the fire chief just told y'all about. Subject to your questions, that's all I have.
Did you or him either one wade out in the water and put those booms out?
No, no. No, sir.
A little chilly, wasn't it?
Any questions on this report?
Motion to approve.
Motion, is there a
More
second?
importantly.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion's carried. Anything else?
That's all I have, sir.
Thank you. Have a Merry Christmas.
Y'all too.
Next is the Correctional Work Center. He's
Mr. Salandis is still out, of course, I did see him just a little bit today, but he's recovering quickly. But this report is just pretty much standard. We've seen nothing in the minutes. The work release program, we still have 11 people in that program, and then you can see on the, you can see that miles of litter pickup on the state highways are, of course, as usual, and then the head count is down a little bit. Our census is down, and the adult detention center, the jail is down a little bit as well, but in any event, the average there in November was 156 inmates, but it's really sort of a routine report this month, and I really don't have anything to add to the report or any need to discuss any other issues with you.
Okay. Any questions on the report? Entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Got a motion to approve, is there a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next is the OSHA report.
But there's one
Oh, I'm
other
sorry.
amendment, the only one I think you have, we can need to move some more money, which we've moved previously, some money out of the other contracted services into our equipment, for a repair and maintenance line item for some additional repairs there. So we're requesting we move $10,000 from other contracted services to repair and maintenance equipment.
That's still that same boiler project.
I don't know if it's the same one or not, to be honest with you, Commissioner P. I think that the other one was more money than that. I think we took care of that previously, but,
Any other questions?
Just when it comes to budget, I'll go ahead and make a motion to forward it to budget. But, have him tell us what it is.
I'll
We'll
have
get
a
there
bit
and
more
we'll see.
information. I just don't.
Big thing is if it's the same one, I'll second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Our discussion. Hearing none, call roll.
Commissioner Petty,
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Phillips.
Aye.
Commissioner Tiffany Phillips.
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens.
Yes.
Commissioner Farley.
Yes. All right. The OSHA report. Got to get down there, I skipped over you because it was our black.
Kids next month. Good evening.
Good evening.
You have the report in front of you. You'll notice in the month of November, we had 15 injuries requiring medical attention for county employees. That brings the total for the year to date to 171. Of that 171, 115 of them are OSHA recordable. That breaks down to 73 of them had restricted days, 21 were lost claim days, and 21 others, as you see there in your report. Look at the next page of the report, and that's a graph, and trying to help you. I know it's kind of hard to see, but in October, at the end of December, we had 221 injuries in 2011. In 2012, we had 196, and in 2013, as I just reported, we have 171, so we are on a downhill trend. And I can report, at least for the month of December right now, we're on track for that, to maintain what we had last year in the month of December. So hopefully, unless we have some severe weather or something happen, we still come in better than we were last year as far as actual injuries. The dollars for the those 15 claims for the month of December, the total dollars incurred was $28,723. The claims breakdown for the Board of Education had 11 injuries, and the total dollars incurred for the Board of Ed was $18,480. The County General had the other 4, and the dollars incurred there were $10,242. County General broke down those 4 for the ambulance service, the correctional work center, and the sheriff's department. And on the next page of your report, you'll see where those break down and the dollars incurred for each of those. And the last page of your report is just kind of a graph of the dollars incurred. And as you look at that, and of course, we had one claim back in 2011 that kind of shot up. Some of those in 2011, as you look at it. 2012, they're about a year old now and are starting to stabilize. And 2013, as always, I caution you to remember that most of those claims in 2013 are still open and still having dollars assigned to them. So, but they are running about half of what they were last year. It's just that as those claims start to close or mature, they could go up a little bit in dollars when the final cost comes in on those claims. That's all I have at this time. If there's any questions.
Any questions on the report?
Motion to approve the report.
Got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
And a second, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion's carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Yeah.
Juvenile detention report. How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, good, good. Don't get any better than this.
All right, it doesn't show on the meeting notice, I'm pretty sure I sent it in, I also have a budget
Okay.
amendment after my report. In front of you is the monthly report for November. Everything on there is pretty standard, but I'll happily answer any questions you have. As always, we're not concerned about the counties that are still waiting to get their checks in the mail to us. That's not gonna be a problem. And then I've also included our facility programming numbers and our rap sheet information that we talked about was going to be included on a regular basis. So I'll answer any questions that you have.
Anybody have any questions for her?
Just refresh my memory, please. I've asked you before and I forget. How many, what's the capacity?
64.
What's the most roughly that you would have any one day during the month here recently? Do you remember?
Probably 25.
Anybody else? I entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the report.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
And a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries, and the budget amendment.
I think it was last month or the month before I came up, we had a Title I educational grant. Since I was last up here, we received an extra $2,000 on top of that grant. So this is just allotting that extra $2,000 into 2 line items, $500 into 429 and $1,500 into 499. And it's just to show the increase in revenue.
You've heard the request. We've got a motion, is there a second? We have a second. Discussion? Hearing or seeing none, call roll.
Commissioner Teague?
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Tiffany Phillips?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes. Thank you, Merry
Thank you.
Christmas.
You too, thank you.
Drug court report, Ms. Mary?
Good evening.
Good evening. Haven't seen you in a while. We've been busy.
Well, I have been busy, but I don't know why you haven't seen me. I'm trying to think.
I think you were on
She's here last night.
I know I had a foundation meeting one night that y'all were
Yeah.
meeting coincided, so, yeah.
I was thinking,
That's just,
I don't know, haven't seen you in a while.
here I am. Still kicking. Let's see, what am I doing? Okay. Report's the report. Numbers are still down. Hopefully those will start picking up at the beginning of the year. But it's a good time to be down because we're gonna be out so much, so you don't wanna start therapy with people and then, be out, so it's not a bad thing. So, send them.
Any questions? If there's no questions, we'll take a motion.
Motion to approve the report.
Got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, and I wanted to inform you, just found this out Friday. We had our conference last week, and I found this out Friday afternoon that we've been invited to apply for a grant. The Attorney General's office sued a division of NHC for something, I don't know what, and got $40 million. And they want to give grants out to nonprofits in Rutherford County that do healthcare. And we've been invited to apply for this grant. So it's due Friday. I'm leaving for Austin Friday to go see my family. So I'm a little nuts. But what I am doing, or what I would like to do with your permission, the money will be given to the Support Foundation. It'll all be through them. But I would like to hire an employee, and this person will be what they call a certified peer recovery specialist. And we learned all about them last week at the conference, and it's this new thing the state has got going. They actually go through training, they have to be certified, they have to be, it's kind of like a therapist. Well, she doesn't do therapy, that was a bad analogy. But they have to be supervised like therapists do. They have to get continuing education hours. They have to have all sorts of things to maintain their certification.
Let me ask you a question. This sounds like a one-time grant.
It is a one-time
And
grant.
you're wanting to hire an employee with this monies. So what are we gonna do next year?
Well, I was gonna get to that. First of all, I think for $250,000, which is what I'm applying for, which is what I was told I could apply for, that will maintain this position for 3 years. And then after that, the board will sustain that position. And if they don't, she's gone. It's as simple as that. In 3 years, I may be gone.
So
Like,
you feel the
like-
board's gonna be in good shape, is what you're saying?
Yes. We're just doing some incredible, they're just doing some incredible things right now. We're hiring a race director, we're increasing our race. We've been invited back to the Delic Fund for Hope golf tournament that they hold at the Gaylord Golf Course. And that has a lot of potential to it, so there's a lot of new doors opening up for the foundation with the current members that they have, and we're more fluid than we've ever been. We've got.
Okay.
Well, if you apply and then you get that, you'll have to come back to us anyway, right?
Mhm.
So we'd see it then. I'll make a motion to let her apply, and we'll see if it comes back.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
And a second. All right.
I'd just like to state that I normally vote against these because I feel like we as a Board of Commissioners need to go ahead and plan on paying for that.
Right.
And I don't like putting the future, commissioners in that position. But since this would be coming out of your board, not Board of Commissioners, I'd like to just
Right.
explain why I'm gonna vote yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Call room?
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Tiffany Phillips?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very
Thank you.
much. I appreciate it.
Have a Merry Christmas also.
Thank you. You too, all of y'all.
A safe trip.
Thank you very much. I can't wait to get my hands on that granddaughter, I tell you. Woo.
I'd like to see one too, but she's a week late.
Oh, no, wait, what? That's not good.
Youth Services, State Circle Juvenile Court, is that what that was a while ago?
That'd be a Christmas thing.
Is that what she, okay, I'm sorry.
This is different here.
Oh,
Youth services is coming.
okay, all
There
right.
you go.
This is it's a $9,000 state supplement grant that we get every year. They've gone to a 5-year grant, so now it's a 5-year, $45,000 grant instead of a $9,000 it's the same amount of money. It's just reauthorized for 5-year increments instead of 1-year increments. So it's money that goes into youth services officers' salaries, and it's free money. The only thing we have to do is maintain 15 hours of in-service training a year and quarterly reports, and if we do those 2 things, we
You say
get
it's
our money.
$45,000?
$45,000 starts July 1st of 14 and runs to June 30 of 19. So it's in a 5-year increment now. Instead of having to reauthorize it every year, they do it in 5-year blocks.
And this is a reauthorization for something we already have.
We've been having it for years. So,
It's just supplementing the budget.
yeah.
Any questions?
Just like one example of what you use it for. Just to-
Well, it goes, if, and of course, this may be a question for somebody with more knowledge than me, but to my knowledge, it goes into the general fund to help supplement salaries, benefits for youth service officers. So, we attend trainings off and on throughout the year to maintain the 15 hours of in-service training we have to get. So.
And youth services does, I mean,
Juvenile probation for kids that come through juvenile court, so.
kind of like a probation officer
Yeah.
type deal.
Yeah. Some counties call them YSOs, some counties call them POs or youth officer.
Yeah, I just wanted that,
Yeah.
I knew what it was, I just wanted
That's
I
what
wanted the public to hear what it was.
Yep.
Anybody else? Entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
And a second. Being, I guess this is money,
It's money.
call the roll.
Commissioner Petty,
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Phillips,
Aye.
Commissioner Tiffany Phillips.
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens.
Yes.
Commissioner Farley.
Yes. That is, thank you.
Thank
Have-
you.
Merry Christmas.
You too.
Sheriff's Department.
Hey, doing good.
Thank you.
So we'll do the, I guess, the report first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I guess I'll entertain any questions or something. That's about all we got tonight. Monetary wise.
Is there anything in here that's,
Something new, out of the ordinary.
that we may need to know about coming on board or something?
Pretty good shape this year.
You're okay on the overtime?
Actually, we're doing pretty good on that, yeah. And if we run into any issues on that towards the end of the year, I've got some solutions for that, so I think we'll be requesting a little money for that reason.
Any more questions on these reports? Whenever y'all ready, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the report.
Got a motion, is there a second?
I'll say.
And a second. Any discussion?
See on your food preparation, you got about 31% of that budget remaining.
That is more than likely where we've got a long-term contract that's probably signed up and we have encumbered those funds, but not yet spent them.
Okay.
And so that's normally what those are, because we have some under the food prep supplies, we have, where we'll open up POs and have a blanket that'll last for a length of time, and that's more likely what that is. It's probably going into the next quarter for next year. She's probably gone ahead and encumbered those funds, and so, which means if she's doing it on a quarterly basis, we're probably running ahead of schedule.
We should be okay when it comes to, with the state taking most of their inmates, it should help us
Yeah.
out quite a bit.
Them opening up that prison in Pikeville.
Yeah.
And who knows, they may come back and pick up the rest of their inmates, I don't know.
Anybody else? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
I want to ask a question, just a general question about the county. Does every law enforcement office in the county get the stop grants for the DUI checkpoint thing?
If they are a part of the Governor's Highway Safety Office. I know Smyrna is, I know Laverne is.
All of them are.
All of them are, everybody is, okay. I wasn't sure about Murfreesboro, I knew who Eagleville was, I wasn't sure about Murfreesboro. So yes, we're all part of the Governor's Highway Safety Office. We were the last one, I guess, then to come on board.
Commander Wynn's got a grant he needs to talk about.
The Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation put out a grant 3 years ago. Last year we applied for it. It's a clean air energy grant. Last year we applied for $440,000. It's a matching grant. It's a 50-50 matching grant. We're wanting to apply for the same grant again. We didn't receive it last year. The only thing that's changing, we asked for basically 3 things: pumps, a roof for the jail, and change out the lighting to retrofit from the T8 fluorescent bulbs we have now to an LED lighting. I'm still waiting on the University of Tennessee is doing an energy study for the jail. Until I get all the numbers in, I'm not going to know exactly what the hard number is that we're going to ask for again. But we've already purchased the pumps, so they won't be included in this year's grant. So more than likely, round figure on the grant's probably going to be around $300,000, somewhere in that nature. But until I get the actual numbers on exactly how many lights we're going to get and exactly how much they're going to cost, I don't know. And we don't have to accept the grant.
If it is similar to what the school system's done,
Yes, it's similar to what the school system's done, and also County General has done, I think, with this building and some of the other buildings. The sheriff's office has never done it before. So we're looking at applying for it. We know we're gonna need a roof. We tried to put that in this year's budget, and, you know, we've had to pick and choose with different things. So we know that that's gonna go in next year's budget. Applying for this grant, you know, maybe half the cost would be deferred if we get the grant. Right now, we're just asking for permission to apply for the grant. Right now, we don't have all our numbers in, but we have to ask for the permission, get y'all's approval, and kind of get it to the committee, because next month is when we have to get it all turned in. So we're just asking for permission to go ahead and apply for the grant.
refresh my memory, what was it last year y'all applied for on the grant?
Last year, what we applied for was the roof, the pumps, and the lights, and we got denied it. This year, originally, before we got started, we asked for the roof, the lights, and then I believe the property assessor's office asked for some electric cars, and they've already kicked those out. So right now, this is the only thing left that we know that Rutherford County can apply for, that I was told.
So they actually asked them for the same thing that we asked?
Yeah, we're asking for the same thing we asked for last time, minus the pumps.
And CTAS stated that the property assessor's office has to apply for their grant separately from ours.
Right.
So that we don't know if the property assessor is going to apply for the same grant, but if they do, it'll be up to the state of Tennessee whether or not they grant it to us or grant it to them or leave us both out.
So basically, we're competing, if they do, we're competing against them.
Yes, sir.
Our own sales.
Yeah.
A lot of other entities around the state, right?
Sir?
A lot of other places around the state, too.
The first year that they had over 300 apply, and there was 17 grants issued. Last year they had 100 apply, and there was 19 grants issued. And this year they're expecting about 100 to apply.
And I'll tell you something else that we got going for us as well, where some others don't. In these kind of grants through TDEC, if you have building codes in your area, you get an additional 15 points. There are some areas in this state that don't have any building codes, so if they've applied for something, they we go a little bit higher because of that versus someone else. That's part of the,
Well, and I can tell you, talking to a few people, putting in for the roof on the jail will probably raise us up a couple of little points too, because that's what helped Canyon County. They got the grant for their jail. Just with CTAS, they just said, because this is for the jail, and I've had CTAS, I've been working with them tremendously, on different things, and CTAS said they felt very good for us. Naturally, they don't know because it goes to another entity, but they felt that this would be worth our while to apply for it.
Where will the money come from the development tax fund, if we have to do a matching portion?
Well, the commission will have to decide that. There's two choices, ending fund balance or the development tax.
But we've got enough money to match it?
150,000, we'll find out either one of those two likely. Depends on where you think is the best choice.
Yeah, we cross that bridge when we get there, if we're fortunate enough to get there.
I just want to be sure we got something there to match it with before we go through all this. Okay.
When was the last time anything was done with the roof?
Way before me.
When it was constructed.
that's what I was thought.
I know we did some.
I was figuring that, but I was.
Yeah. I know we've done some maintenance because they pulled the gravel off at one time when I was still working in the jail. But other than that, I don't think we've ever replaced that roof.
That's 15 years.
If you applied and it were approved, you have to come back before us to accept it anyway.
Yes, sir.
I would move to approve, let them make the application.
All right, there's a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
And a second. All right, is there any more discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Jeff Phillips.
Aye.
Commissioner Tiffany Phillips.
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens.
Yes.
Commissioner Farley.
Yes.
This month.
I thought there was gonna be something more about SRO than some issues you covered.
There's a lot going in here today.
Is that all you got?
No, we've got,
one more.
All right.
Tiffany asked for us to bring stuff to y'all.
Oh, about crossing guards.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Well, about the intersection out there at Rockville.
Oh, okay. I knew it was something traffic, I figured crossing guard, I didn't know.
Well, it kind of ends up there. No, okay, well, okay. Captain has worked on this for you since last month,
Thank you.
uh,
I appreciate it.
and he's gonna give you the presentation.
Okay.
Yes,
And you don't have to have a gun to be too small, you gotta be.
No, I apologize in advance. One of these slides says on request of S. Phillips, but it's supposed to be T. Phillips.
I'll overlook it.
We did a study out there, Clear Ridge Drive, New Salem Highway, Rockville School Zone, from the 21st to the 6th. Of course, this is the area we're talking about, Clear Ridge being the top, Highway 99 being the road on the left, and the school zone, where the school's right there, basically in the middle. So that's the area we're talking about. We went out there every morning, well, not every morning, we went out there in the mornings, 6:45 to 8, which is the times that the lights are on, the school zone, and in the afternoons from 2:30 until 3:30. Myself, and those lieutenants and sergeant also, we were out there on various days. We weren't out all at the same time because it would be overkill, but that's who did it. We did 6 random days. Of course, you know, there was Thanksgiving holidays in between there and all that, so school was closed sometimes. And sometimes, as a matter of fact, it was raining too hard to go. But we picked 6 days, morning and afternoon is what we ended up doing. Of course, there's the slide that says S. Phillips instead of T. Phillips. Because of the complaint. And one of the complainants is sitting here in the audience, and I've spoken to him a couple of times. Be aware, the number of houses that are in the subdivision are 65. There's only one way in, one way out. Nothing I can do about that. That's a county issue right there. In the mornings, The minimum amount of cars that came out was 35, and the max was 40. It never got more than 40. It was always between 35 and 40 cars that came out in the morning time that went either right or left. The majority went right towards town. And in the afternoons, it was 13 and 16. That's about all that came out in the afternoons. I mean, everybody's at work mostly, so. Entering the subdivision in the mornings was 10, 16. You know, those are the ones that entered in the mornings. Usually came from the school because they dropped their kids off and came back in and went back in. And in the afternoon, 16 and 27. It did vary. It was never more than 27, never less than 16. Most number of vehicles that ever stacked up at one time to get out was turning left, 3, ever. The times that, now that's the times that we were out. Just, you know, I mean, they could have been more on different days, but the times that I watched it and the other guys watched it, it was only 3. And it took them a minute and 20 seconds to all turn left. Now, as I was telling the gentleman back here, it may have been because we were out there. Understand? Because I'm not hiding in the bushes to watch it. So there's a little subjectivity there. You know, they may have slowed down a whole lot because we were there and being more courteous, but from what we observed, I can only go by what we observed. You know, it takes them somewhere between 20 and 30 seconds, depending on the driver, both mornings and afternoons. And to turn right towards town, it took like 10 to 20 seconds. Here in a little bit, I'll show you a video that shows some of the traffic flow. I won't bore you, it's only like 2 or 3 minutes long.
Now this is coming out of the subdivision?
This is coming out of the subdivision.
It doesn't matter which way they turn. It take right or left, it's taking about the same amount of time.
It'll take you longer left because that's towards the school zone. It doesn't take you so far to go right towards town, which would be eastbound. Because, well, you'll see on the video because. To enter the subdivision, of course, if you're coming from the school zone, you're turning right into it. It doesn't take you any time. But if you're coming from town towards the school zone, most people just, they turned. I mean, traffic was going slow at a constant pace. You know, it flows continuously, and you'll see it on video. Times, you know, of course, now we had a camera out there, and people were thinking, what in the world, you know, including some of the complainants that said, what are y'all doing? And we explained it to them. So it may be slightly different. But it continuously moved. I purposely came late a few times myself just to see how far back it would back up. It generally backed up to New Salem Highway, which is really not that far. It's right before. There's New Salem Highway, and comes Pusher Place, which is a little subdivision on the right, which, like I was explaining to the gentleman back here, is a lot harder for them to get out than it is for Clear Ridge to get out. It took me 2 minutes to get from there to the school zone. It never stopped. So a lot of it has to do with patience of people. I'm not patient either. You know, generally, while we were out there, people they let them out, and you'll see it on the video. Some didn't bother to wait to see if they let them out; they just go ahead and pull out. It just causes people to slow down. Let's see if I can play the video right here. Now, if I showed you 6 days of video, we'd be here all night. So we really condensed this.
Yeah, we really appreciate that, Ego.
Me too. I didn't want to sit. I watched it. I saw it real. I didn't want to sit there and have to watch it either. Okay, you'll see that. Well, see, there's nobody. You saw that, right?
They obviously didn't see you, right?
Yeah, well, they weren't paying attention to me. That's for sure. But you'll see it fade in and out as mornings and afternoons. Sometimes it's raining, sometimes it's not. We just got a general consensus of it all.
Now they seen a shot and they went and took it.
There was one gentleman out there. He saw us and he absolutely refused to go out into traffic until there was like nobody coming from anywhere. I mean, I didn't show him, but he sat there a little while. But that was by his choice. So a lot of times, depends on the driver. You'll see this bus twice, different days. This time, I think he's turning right this time, next time he'll be turning left. He or she, I'm not sure about the reference. But you can tell by the video, see, it continuously moves, it continuously flows.
Did any of the cars heading towards the schools pause to let it, when it was clear going into town, the other direction, to let somebody out turning left?
Sometimes it just depended, you know. I watched this, you know, I noticed a couple of days in a row, you know, you pick out certain cars and then you notice that they come back. And I was kind of watching to see how long. I watched this one, it was a yellow Hummer, from the point I saw it, which was in front of the Dollar General store, to see how long it'd go through, come through the zone, through school zone and come back out, and it was 5 minutes total. So apparently they were dropping off their kids. That's you, isn't it? The one in the van.
I'll push that guy out of the way.
Yeah.
So all the ones we're seeing now, is it just mornings, or do you got some?
No, there's
afternoons?
mornings and afternoons. It's just the guy that was doing the video didn't differentiate. But I'm guessing this is morning time. That happens a lot.
Hurry up. Do you happen to have an accident? Has there been any accidents here, or none? Okay.
No. I couldn't tell you the last time there was an accident there.
Let me ask a question.
Yes, sir.
If you've got crossing guards that
There's three crossing guards in the school zones right now.
All right.
And we've replaced one of them.
Just recently?
Just
recently?
like a week ago.
Replaced them.
Yeah, we put somebody else in their place to help, you know, upon recommendation, to help that flow go a little bit.
Oh, okay.
That's why I was asking. I mean, if you were to put another crossing guard here with people stopping, is that going to create a worse problem?
Yeah, you're ahead of my slides. Yes.
Oh, am I?
Yeah. Yeah. I'll tell you why.
I'm just looking at the traffic. I mean,
well, you're coming to the same conclusion that I come to, basically, which the slide will show.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean
That's all right. But that was it right there. For that. Okay, traffic control solution. Traffic light. Okay, I spoke to the road department, highway department. It's anywhere from 50,000 to 300,000, depending on what they got to do. And then TDOT has to do a study first to approve it. They said they're not.
TDOT's already said this, a turn lane is not,
That was the next
justified.
Yeah.
Turning lane is not specified. It doesn't benefit the flow of traffic at all.
Right.
Well, now, let me clarify that. I spoke to the guy at the state that says, when he did the traffic, and they say warranted or not warranted. And when the state says it's not warranted, they don't say that it's not necessary. They say it's not coming out of their funds. That's different than if it's not needed.
Well, okay, this is
Yeah,
my
no.
opinion, my observation. All right, going out there, all right, a turning lane on Highway 99. All right, we already saw that when they're turning into the subdivision from the left, it's a minimal amount of time, 5 to 10 seconds. If you turn into the right, there's no time. So it doesn't warrant it. It just doesn't. It's not worth the cost. It's not necessary. Adding another traffic guard. All right. Besides the cost, which their salary $6120 a year plus $530 in equipment. All right. That number, as I was explaining to the gentleman back here, you have New Salem right before it. You got Pusher Place, which is another subdivision right before it. They're going to say, this is opinion now. They're going to say, we want a guard, and they have a right to say that. But putting a guard there is definitely going to stop that flow of traffic. It will back it up farther towards Murfreesboro, for sure. So to me, it's not feasible. About 30 man-hours, costs about $1,000, give or take a few, for us to do this study. Spoke with Mr. Doug DeMasi from the planning director, the Rutherford Regional Planning Commission. They had already in the process. They were talking about it, and they're talking about doing a study out there, the flow of traffic within the school zone, how it flows around the school, at the schools itself, to try to alleviate some of the traffic off of Highway 99. So they're going to do that. At least that's what they tell me they're going to do. And I recommend that. That's a great idea. Because apparently there's some roads or something that are not being used, I'm not quite sure, on the grounds itself. But they're aware of it. They were actually looking at it before we did this. And
what would that do, basically put more vehicles into the parking lot?
it'll put more into the parking lot, make a bigger circle or something to try to release the flow, which of course eventually will come out. And that's what they're going to study, to see if it'll flow smoother or if it'll even help. They're the experts, they're the engineers in that regard. We're just looking to see about how long it takes somebody to get out of that subdivision. And the fact of the matter is, it's continuous flow. Large part to the guards, which they can cause problems, but through training, doing a little better, it's gotten better. And of course, like we said, we removed one, replaced him with somebody else.
They do a great job. It took forever to get off campus today because of exams, and there's no guards out there.
And
students.
And the thing about it is, Ms. Phillips, is they have no more, no less, and I know the people out there will disagree with me. They have no more, no less of a problem than every other school zone in this county. It's because of where we build the schools.
All of our schools are built on main arteries. If you ever notice, wherever we build schools, they're always on a main artery, it seems like.
Let me ask you a question, since you live out in that area. Was the traffic flow that right there, was it like it is normally out there? Is it basically the same traffic flow?
Some days, yes, and I like to know so I can change my time of coming in and out of the house, because
I do know this, at 7:40, there's no more traffic coming out of that subdivision, period, zero. Nobody's leaving at 7:40. Because they're already all gone, I guess.
Okay. But we have to leave way before that because of the way the schools.
Because you're taking your child to school.
And because some of the schools are, and probably to be fair for the school system, they have to start sometime. They all start about the same time.
What one of the things that we can do and will do, okay, is I will have a in the mornings that zone officer. Now he can't be there all the time because we got to handle calls, which is why I didn't have them do the study, because we got to handle the public calls. But as much as possible, and we always do this, and we try. If there's a marked unit, so if they were slowing down for me, maybe it'll be the same result. You know what I'm saying? It'll help you out. Now, keep in mind that stop sign.
There's a stop sign there?
See? As you saw in the video.
Captain,
I also
Yes,
saw a
ma'am.
little white cross there too from somebody in the past before the schools.
Did anybody? What's the start times for the schools?
Well,
Are they
I don't
the
know
same?
if they're on
or-
electronic. You talking about both schools?
Yes, sir. Are they on the same?
I think they're on the same start time, but I didn't actually check. But
The elementary,
I think elementary starts 30 minutes before. I think elementary starts 30 minutes before.
Yeah.
So they're not there.
Staggered.
I think they are
They should
30
be.
minutes apart.
Because that, I was surprised at how the little amount of traffic on here. But if it's even more of a problem than, pulling the start times, of course, then you've got the issue of parents that have elementary students and middle school students. So that has to be taken in consideration too. But
and I actually don't know if the schools start at different times. I just went by when the light was on.
the young lady that goes to school out there said one starts at 7:45, the other school starts at 7:50. So there's 5 minutes between the start times. So therefore, that's why you got the double.
And I don't-
Maybe they ought to stagger the starts a little because,
About 30 minutes.
you know, I know,
That's
I live with Stones River Road in Laverne, and there's 4 of them going down through there. You know,
Yeah, I remember, yes.
But I know the middle school, the older ones start later than the younger ones. In the high schools, but it's not near there, but it's even later. But
That's it.
they
Going
might
to-
be able to do those two and separate them.
Going New Salem and Barfield Barfield Road
In Riverdale.
and into Riverdale. And, or if that's backed up, trying to go around Kimbrough Road that way, and then trying to come in South Church Street.
Trying church, you
Hey,
start
it's
both
better
ways.
than 231. That's why I go through there, because it's better than 231.
Yeah, I
I
mean, there's
messed up one
problems.
morning and went that way.
There's definitely problems.
Yeah.
But we're addressing this one out here.
Right.
You know,
I'm retired.
that's our recommendation, that's my recommendation, and that's what we can do. And for the residents out there, I'll try to have a patrol car there as much as possible.
Well, I appreciate your
Control
study
that.
and the time that you spent on it. That's what I just wanted somebody to look at it.
All right.
Well, and I wanted to bring this map talking about the officers out there and show you, these are our patrol zones. So usually when you have an officer patrolling the county and he's in, zone 2, the yellow area is zone 2. There's one officer in that zone. Zone 3, there's one officer between Highway 96 and that would be John Bragg Highway. That's his zone. Everything in between, that's all one officers. And, naturally you get several calls, you're backed up because you're the only officer out there. Naturally out towards Eagleville, this whole area, it's the largest zone. Highway 96 and runs out Midland. Everything in between from the city limits to the county line is one zone, one officer. So, I just always want to remind y'all of that, of how our zones are, and usually how, there's 12 zones, and usually we have about 9 officers on duty. But the city of Murfreesboro is considered one zone, Zone 5. Smyrna and Laverne are considered one zone. We don't usually staff those zones because they have people there. All the rest of the county, we have somebody out there all the time. So, just wanted to show you the map. Any other questions?
Anybody have any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to y'all.
To all a good night.
Yes.
All right. Let's see here. Looks like it's the end of that. Is there any other business to come before the committee? Hearing and seeing none, we stand adjourned. Merry Christmas, everybody.